There's a machine that's been running for over 100 years. Every morning, millions of people feed themselves into it. They clock in, sit down, do what they're told, clock out, go home, sleep, and do it again. Most of them will do this for 40 years, some for 50, and at the end, they'll retire with barely enough to survive. This isn't bad luck. This is the blueprint. The 9 to 5 wasn't created to build wealth. It was created to extract it. They tell you it's honest work, a steady paycheck, benefits, security. But let me ask you something. If it's so secure, why does one missed paycheck destroy everything? If it's building your future, why do you panic when you think about quitting? The 9 to 5 isn't security, it's a leash. And most people never realize they're wearing it until it's too late. Picture this. You had dreams once, real ones, things you wanted to build, places you wanted to see, a version of yourself that was more than what you are now. Then you got the job. At first it was temporary. Just until you figured things out, just until you saved enough, just until the right opportunity came along. But temporary became permanent. The paychecks kept coming, the bills kept growing, and somewhere along the way, you stopped planning your escape. You started planning your weekend. That's how it gets you. Slowly, quietly, until the trap feels like home. Here's the thing about the 9 to 5 that nobody explains when you start. It's not designed to make you rich. It's designed to make someone else rich while keeping you stable enough not to quit. Think about it. Your boss makes money whether he shows up or not. The company owner makes money while he's on vacation. The shareholders make money in their sleep. But you only make money when you're there, in that chair, at that desk, doing what someone else told you to do. The moment you stop, the money stops. That's not a career. That's renting out your life by the hour. I want you to imagine something that'll probably make you uncomfortable. Calculate how many hours you've worked in your life. Now multiply that by what you make per hour. That's how much your life has been worth to someone else. Not to you, to them, because they took those hours, turned them into profit, and gave you just enough back to make sure you'd show up again tomorrow. You're not building your dream, you're funding theirs. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Brian. Brian started his job right out of school, entry level, low pay. But everyone told him to stick with it, work your way up, prove yourself. So he did. Brian showed up early, stayed late, took on extra projects, did everything right. 5 years in, he got promoted. Better title, better pay. Brian felt like he was finally moving forward. 10 years in, another promotion, even better pay. Brian bought a house, got married, had kids. From the outside, Brian's life looked perfect. But here's what nobody saw. Brian hated Mondays, dreaded Sunday nights, spent his commute in silence just trying to mentally prepare for another week of the same thing. And the worst part? Brian couldn't leave. The house payment required his salary, his kids' school, his wife's expectations. His entire life was built around that job. He wasn't working there by choice anymore. He was working there because his life demanded it. 20 years disappeared like that. And Brian still dreams about what he could have done if he hadn't stayed. Right now, someone just like Brian is sitting in an office, staring at a screen, thinking about all the things they wish they were doing instead. But they won't leave. They'll finish the day, go home, come back tomorrow. Because the 9 to 5 doesn't just take your time, it takes your courage, your creativity, your belief that you could be something more. It convinces you that stability is better than possibility, that safe is smarter than sorry. And by the time you realize what you traded, you're too deep in to dig yourself out. Here's what makes the 9 to 5 so insidious. It gives you just enough to survive, but never enough to escape. You make enough to cover rent, food, bills, maybe a little extra for something nice once in a while, but you never make enough to stop, to take 6 months off and build something, to invest in yourself, to take a real risk. The salary keeps you right at the edge, comfortable enough not to revolt, broke enough to need tomorrow's paycheck. That's not an accident. That's engineering. Think about what you do every single day. You wake up when someone else decides. You go where someone else tells you. You do what someone else assigns. You take breaks when you're allowed. You leave when you're permitted. And in exchange, you get paid a fraction of the value you create. This is what we've been taught to call opportunity. But it's not opportunity. It's obedience training. And the reward for good behavior is the chance to do it again tomorrow. Your manager doesn't care about your dreams. The company doesn't care about your potential. HR doesn't care about your happiness. They care about productivity, output, results. You're a resource, a line on a budget, a replaceable part in a machine that was running before you got there and will keep running after you're gone. You're not special to them. You're useful. And the moment you're not, you're gone. That's the relationship. You're loyal to a system that would replace you in a week. Here's the cruelest part of the 9 to 5. It robs you of time with the people who actually matter. You spend your best hours with coworkers you don't even like. You give your energy to projects you don't care about. You save your worst self for home. Your family gets whatever's left after you've given your best to strangers. Your kids grow up watching you leave in the morning and come back exhausted at night. They learn that this is what adults do: work, stress, repeat. You're not just stuck in the system, you're teaching them to get stuck too. Look at the people who've been at your job for 20 years. Look at them closely. Are they happy? Are they free? Are they living a life you want? Or are they just older versions of what you're becoming? Tired, resigned, counting down to retirement, waiting for permission to finally live. That's your future if nothing changes, not because you're weak, because the system is designed to wear you down until you stop fighting and start accepting. The 9-to-5 wasn't always like this. It was created during the Industrial Revolution when factories needed workers for set hours. The goal was maximum efficiency, get the most output from human labor in the shortest time. And somehow, 100 years later, we're still following that same model, even though we're not building cars on an assembly line. Even though technology has made most jobs doable from anywhere at any time, we're still pretending that sitting in a specific chair from 9 to 5 makes us productive. It doesn't. It makes us controlled. You've probably thought about quitting. Everyone has. Maybe you've even planned it out in your head. What you'd do instead, how you'd make it work. But then reality hits. The bills, the responsibilities, the fear. What if it doesn't work out? What if you fail? So you stay. You convince yourself it's not that bad, that it's practical, responsible, smart. But deep down, you know the truth. You're not staying because it's smart. You're staying because you're scared. And the 9-to-5 has made you so dependent on it that leaving feels impossible. Here's what nobody tells you about the people who escaped. They weren't smarter than you. They weren't luckier. They weren't more talented. They were just more scared of staying than they were of leaving. They looked at 40 more years of this and decided, no, not me, not my life. They chose uncertainty over certainty, risk over safety. And most of them will tell you the same thing. They wish they'd done it sooner. You know what's crazy? You'll spend more time working than you'll spend with your own family. More time in that office than in your own home while you're awake. More time building someone else's vision than your own. And at the end of it all, you'll get a retirement party, a cheap watch maybe, a plaque with your name on it. And then you're forgotten, replaced. While the company keeps running without you like you were never there, that's what you get for 40 years of loyalty. A handshake and a pension that barely covers your bills while you are too old to enjoy the freedom you spent your whole life working toward. The 9-to-5 isn't just a job, it's a belief system. It's the idea that this is how life works, that you're supposed to trade your time for money, that someone else should control your schedule, that security is more important than freedom, that dreaming is for kids and working is for adults. But who sold you that belief? Who benefits from you accepting it? Not you. Them. The people who need workers, the people who profit from your obedience, the people who built a system where you feel grateful for the opportunity to make them rich. Once you see it, everything changes. You'll notice how everyone around you is trapped too. How they complain about work but never leave, how they fantasize about retirement like it is a finish line instead of realizing they're wasting their best years waiting for permission to live, how they've accepted that this is just how it is, that this is normal. But normal doesn't mean right, it just means common. And what's common is millions of people giving away their lives one shift at a time for a paycheck that barely covers the life they're too busy to live. So here's the real question. How much longer are you going to do this? How many more years are you going to give them? How much more of your life are you willing to trade for the illusion of security? Because every day you stay is a day you're choosing this, choosing the 9-to-5 over everything else you could be. And time doesn't wait. It doesn't pause while you figure it out. It just keeps moving, and one day you'll be out of it. And all you'll have left is the question you were too afraid to answer. What if I had tried? The 9-to-5 isn't keeping you safe. It's keeping you small, and the longer you stay, the smaller you become. Until you forget you were ever meant to be anything more than average. The system is designed to keep you there. Average, obedient, grateful for the cage. Don't let it. Now you know.